Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Reversing Hashimoto's podcast. I'm your show host, Dr. Anshul Gupta, world's expert in Hashimoto's disease. And today I'm really excited for a discussion and our guest today because we are discussing about a very new age thing. We have spoken about meditation and stress and how it affects Hashimoto's and autoimmune conditions. But a lot of people struggle with how to tackle this stress, how to tackle this meditation and make it easier for them to implement in their life. And that is exactly what we are going to talk about today. First of all, how it totally impacts your life and how it might be related to your Hashimoto's and thyroid disorders. And then how you can tackle this stress in a very easy way. So let me introduce my guest today and then we will delve into the discussion. So Ariel Garten is the co-founder of Muse, a leading neurotechnology company creating EEG powered tools to support meditation and sleep. With a background in neuroscience, psychotherapy, and design, Ariel brings science and accessibility together to make mindfulness practical and effective. She's a thought leader in the intersection of brain health and technology and is frequently invited to speak globally on topics such as mental performance, meditation, and brain optimization. Ariel is also the host of the Untangle podcast, and her work has been featured on CNN, the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, and more. Ariel, welcome over here.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here. Wonderful to be with you and the whole audience. Hi, guys.
Absolutely. So let's delve into the discussion, right? It's like, people who are listening over here, they want to know why they should be worried about sleep, why they should be worried about stress, how that can impact their thyroid as well as Hashimoto's.
So the first thing we were going to say is you don't want to be worried. The whole point of this is to let go of worry. You do want to be aware that stress can impact your thyroid and your Hashimoto's conditions and other autoimmune diseases that you may be trying to manage. But the whole goal here is that we actually want to let go of worry. So there's an interesting study that shows that people who have higher levels of stress have higher incidences of autoimmune disease. And another study that demonstrates that people with PTSD who received treatment for their PTSD had a lower incidence of autoimmune disease than those who didn't receive treatment. So what this points to is the relationship between stress exacerbating autoimmune diseases. And so I personally went through a hyperreactive time in my body when I had a trauma. I had a significant amount of stress that came from it. And I became afraid of a lot of things. And then my body reacted with really unhelpful immune responses to foods and things that should have been neutral to me, to supplements, to green juice. I would be having itchy mouth and like uncomfortable reactions. And one of the theories of why that happens is because a stressor hyperactivates our limbic system. So the part of our brain that is responsible for our fear response. And it hyperactivates particularly our amygdala, the part of our brain that's responsible for scanning for danger and responding with a fight or flight response with increased heart rate, with increased cortisol levels, preparing us and readying us to attack whatever might be attacking us. And over time, our mind body can misinterpret attack signals and start sending out the attack warning constantly. And so your body is constantly on attack, meaning you have increased immune response, and some of that can translate into increased autoimmune response, meaning your body starts to attack itself because it has become unclear about who or what the offender is. And so one of the approaches to reducing the severity of autoimmune conditions is to learn to manage stress and downregulate your limbic system and your autoimmune response by calming the body, by basically telling it, hey, there's no fire, everything's okay. We can calm right down now. And that has been demonstrated to actually lead to a decrease in autoimmune symptoms.
So that's great, and for again people to remind you that Hashimoto's is an autoimmune condition where your body is producing antibodies, which is attacking your thyroid gland, which ultimately leads to hypothyroidism. And if you were asked your doctors or anybody else, why did I get Hashimoto's disease? You would have never gotten an answer. Why does these autoimmune conditions happen? And Ariel over here gave you one of those root causes, that's exposure to stress, which ultimately causes, issues with your limbic system, which again kind of, changes your immune system to turn it against your own body. So literally working on this limbic system and this underlying stress can help you to improve your thyroid and Hashimoto's, and obviously improve the hormone levels in the body. So that's a very important mechanism that everybody should be aware of, right? Because everybody heard like, stress is bad. They think stress can only cause psychological problems of just having low mood or anxiety and things. But out here, we are talking about physical changes which is happening because of stress. Is that correct, Ariel?
That is correct. So stress really does cause physiological change in our body. So stress increases your blood pressure, changes the way we metabolize sugar. It increases our heart rate. You have cortisol running throughout your body, and it is essentially sending a message from your brain to your whole body saying there is something wrong. And when you have the something wrong signal happening in your body, you end up with a hyperreactive response with your body trying to protect itself. But it's often protecting itself in the absence of any real danger. And then over time, the reaction itself becomes something that we become afraid of. And so that fear of the reaction only causes more reaction in our own body. And it's quite ironic, but the way to get out of this entire spiral to some degree, to lessen it to some degree, is to stand back and spend time calming the entire system, relaxing the entire system, letting it know that there is no fear, there is no threat, down regulating your cortisol, down regulating your limbic system, down regulating your amygdala, and perfusing yourself with sensations of safety and peace and calm, so that the parts of your body, the immune system that's running around looking for attackers, can take a break, can know that it too can calm down, and there is no real threat. And it's really, as I said, ironic because in a sense, the symptoms can feel like the threat, and then the fear of the symptoms creates more fear. And we need to remove ourselves and stand outside of this condition and say, hey, it's okay. Everything really can be okay. Everything can be fine. And take deep breaths, meditate, calm down, and do all of the methodologies you can to downregulate your body's stress response.
And this is very interesting because a lot of people who have Hashimoto's disease are literally sensitive to so many things, like to chemicals around them, even strong smells around them. Even some people who have started working with us, have very strong reactions to certain supplements and to certain foods. Literally, like people are eating 4 or 5 foods because as soon as they eat any other food, their body will react. And they're asking questions. They have been given a diagnosis of either they have mast cell disorder or just hyperimmune system in there. But what you're telling us is that exposure to trauma or stress can ultimately be the reason of why they are feeling this way, of reactions to things as well as other symptoms including fatigue, brain fog and stuff too, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, nothing has a not, our bodies are complex. So, there can be multiple factors. There may be a genetic predisposition. There are various factors that lead to this, but often there's the tipping point of stress that causes it. Um, and even if stress wasn't the tipping point for you, reducing your stress and calming yourself can have great benefit in reducing your symptoms. So, I myself went through a period of time. I had a trauma in my life that was very disturbing. And then I had extraordinary stress simultaneously, where I was doing a very, very hard project. And that triggered me to end up with multiple chemical sensitivities, where I then became sensitive to smells, to laundry detergents. I would laugh. I used to be allergic to dust and mold and cleaning products, the problems and the solutions. And the more I became afraid of these things and avoid them, the more I ended up with more and more symptoms, because I would then become afraid of the symptoms. And what was a real turning point in my healing was the recognition that the world was not threatening to me, that these items were not threatening to me, and spending hours and hours retraining my mind and body, calming my system, and allowing myself to know that I really was safe. And it was through a deep, deep meditation practice, through another methodology called DNRS, Dynamic Neural Retraining System, and then through really understanding my safety, even though my trauma made me feel like I wasn't safe, understanding that that trauma was in the past, and in the present, I was safe. And having the discipline of meditation to bring that knowledge and understanding to myself was the main thing that got me out of there. It took a lot of work and a lot of therapy and a lot of self-reflection, but it ultimately was really effective at reducing my sensitivities and my strange autoimmune responses.
So that is great, and that is good news for people because they have been looking for either answers for, going on more stricter diets or taking certain supplements to improve it, which certainly can work in certain people. But a lot of our patients are stuck and do not move forward. So this is very interesting because, like these are the typical people. For them, doing meditations is very difficult. They feel their brain is on fire. So as soon as they start calming their nervous system or doing meditation, gazillion thoughts are running in their mind and they're not able to do that. So this is where I'm always looking for options or ways to help my patients to do this meditation, so at least they can get this effect of bringing their immune system down. And this is where I think the device that you have created, the Muse, is a very nice device that can help them to do the meditation and still not feel the work. So tell us a little bit about this device and how is it different from meditation and how it can help people.
Sure. So this is the device. It's called Muse. It's a clinical grade EEG. My background is in neuroscience, and it tracks your brain while you meditate and gives you real-time feedback to help you learn to meditate. So I mentioned that I had a deep meditation practice before meditation was impossible for me. My brain would bounce all over the place. Even before I was triggered by my trauma fear, I was somebody who had a brain that liked to bounce all over and think about a million things. And then once I was triggered by my trauma brain, quieting was almost impossible. And it was through the building and the use of Muse that I was actually able to establish my meditation practice and establish the ability to focus and calm my body and my mind. So how Muse works is it just slips on like a pair of glasses, and it tracks your brain while you meditate. And it's kind of like a little coach or a guru. It works with an app on your phone. And when you're in meditation, when you're in focused attention on your breath, it gives you calming sounds to let you know that you're focused. And when your mind wanders, the sound picks up. So you're actually getting real-time feedback on your brain while you meditate, getting real-time feedback, letting you know when you're focused. And then when your mind wanders, encouraging you back into this meditation state. So it both teaches you how to meditate and then encourages your brain to do it, and because it lets it know when you're doing it right. And then after the fact, you get charts, graphs, scores, things that show you what your brain was doing. And it comes with hundreds of guided meditations that help you at any moment in your life. So, you're feeling frustrated standing in line, we have a meditation for that. You have a fight with your partner, we have a meditation for that. You have a scary interview coming up, there's a meditation for that. So it's really an extraordinary tool. And it's been widely, widely used to help people start or enhance their meditation practice and to help them live with and improve chronic health conditions.
So that's the interesting piece. So, it gives them a real time feedback, you said, right? Because most people, that's what the issue is there. They will fire up, there are great apps, which we recommend to our clients also. But they have these guided meditations, but then they do not know whether, the meditation is working for them or whether they do it correctly or not. So you said this will actually give them a live feedback when they're actually meditating. Is that correct?
Exactly. So while you're meditating, it lets you know when you're meditating. And as soon as your mind wanders off, it picks up the audio and guides you back into meditation. So it's kind of like, when you go to when you're trying to exercise on your own and like there's nobody around and like you exercise for like 3 minutes. I know this happens to me. And then I'm like, okay, I'm done. But when you have a coach or you have a class or you have, a group of people around you, or you have a coach standing there saying, go, 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 you can exercise for an hour. Muse is doing the same thing. It's keeping you on track and it's really telling you when you're doing it right. So if you've never meditated before, Muse teaches you how. We have heard from so many people that it helped them go from 0 to 100. And then if you have an existing meditation practice, Muse helps you enhance that and go deeper on it. We've heard people say things like, I meditated for a year before Muse, and once I started using Muse, I realized what I was really, supposed to be doing, and like my meditation got so much deeper, and I can now go longer and faster. And then we have a lot of doctors and clinics that use it. So the Mayo Clinic did a study with breast cancer patients using Muse back in 2015, showing that it improved their stress and fatigue. From there was another study that's been published on Cushing's syndrome, which is a stress-related illness, showing that using Muse actually decreases the endocrine markers in your body of stress-related illness. Like it really has a measurable impact on your physiology, on your body. And then lately, Mayo Clinic published another study using it with long COVID patients, showing that Muse for long COVID patients improves cognition and decreases stress and fatigue and symptoms of long COVID. So, don't just take my word for it. It's actually used by the Mayo Clinic and, studies published in amazing journals. And they use it over and over again because it's incredibly effective.
That is amazing. And that's what, again, a lot of people are skeptical of, obviously, like they do not know whether it's effective or not. But obviously, now it's research backed device. So that kind of makes it more comfortable for people to believe that actually works. Now, again, going back to the question about the live feedback. So the live feedback is based on the EEG reading, which the Muse is doing in real time. Is that again correct? Is that the way it is working?
Correct. Yep. So the Muse is reading your EEG, your brain signals in real time, your brain waves, and then guiding you into the brainwave state of meditation. So it's guiding you into increased alpha activity and reinforcing you for staying there.
So
And
again,
so there's hundreds of studies that have been published with Muse, over 200 studies. Stanford, Harvard, MIT, over and over and over again. So it's widely used as a research tool. And one of the studies from the Catholic University of Milan, there they demonstrated that using Muse created a persistent change in your brain activity that was associated with calm and focus throughout the day. So they had a study with individuals doing just a regular meditation for a month versus individuals meditating with Muse for a month. And they showed that those who meditated with Muse had increased outcomes in their brain and in their body in terms of their biomarkers of calm versus people just doing regular meditation.
so again, going back to the EEGs, a lot of people might not know what an EEG is, and then there are different waves which are related to when you're stressed out or when you're, awake state of like, your brain, as well as, to when you are calmed down. So tell us a little bit about, explain those different in brief way, if you can.
Sure. So the brain waves are the sum total of the electrical activity in your brain. And when we are worried, thinking, over analyzing, we have high beta activity, so fast activity. When we're generally just sort of thinking and processing, we have beta activity. When we're calming down in a sort of more singular focus, we drop down into alpha activity, and that's a very healthy state for your brain. When you're falling asleep, you move into theta activity, and then when you're in deep sleep, you move into delta activity. And getting good deep sleep, a lot of delta activity at night, at least 2 hours, is associated with deeply restorative sleep, which can also be really helpful for autoimmune conditions.
Absolutely. And and typically when people are meditating with Muse, which kind of brain activity are we looking at?
So when you're meditating with Muse, you're increasing your alpha activity, which is a very calm, internally focused state. And it's a state that also calms down your amygdala, your limbic system. And then we actually have another device, Muse S. So we have two different ones, Muse 2 and Muse S. We have a new Muse S, the Athena. And that also allows you to track and improve your sleep. So the Muse S allows you to fall asleep with the device on, and it gives you bio and neurofeedback that is designed to walk your brain into sleep. And it tracks your sleep as effectively as a sleep lab, as a polysomnography system, and has been demonstrated to improve sleep quality by 20%.
That is huge because a lot of people, again, what the issue they are facing is that either they have trouble falling asleep or they wake up very often in the night. So this Muse S, can be very useful device for those people who are struggling with sleep because that can not only help them to go to sleep but also maintain sleep during the night also.
Yep. So as you're falling asleep, it plays beautiful guided audio that gives you bio and neurofeedback in a way that's designed to walk your brain into sleep. And it's beautiful and very effective. And if you wear the device throughout the night, if you wake up in the middle of the night, the same experience comes back in to help you fall back asleep. And so lots of people, particularly women in midlife. I'm a 45-year-old female who gets crazy night sweats. And when I first got my night sweats, they would wake me up and I would be so frustrated. But with what I've learned from using Muse, I can, the sweat will come on and I will just not care and I'll fall back asleep. It's a complete game changer.
That is amazing. That is awesome because again, definitely like sleep is such an important thing, and we all have the great devices to track our sleep. But a lot of times, even the supplements are not working. So this will be another tool for people to use to improve their sleep quality. So definitely, like it helps to calm things down. It definitely helps with sleep quality. But a lot of people with Hashimoto's have issues with energy, like they're feeling low energy or tired all the time, or they have issues with brain fog. Does this can help them with those things too?
Yeah, so we have a new device. So very interestingly, in the long COVID study, it was 44 patients who were using Muse um, at the Mayo Clinic in their long COVID uh, center. And the 44 patients who were using Muse, a significant number of them saw improvements in symptoms, including brain fog. So, just the use of the device was able to, in some patients over 3 months, reduce their brain fog significantly, which is unbelievable. Like the doctors were shocked because they weren't expecting those kinds of results. And they actually have a second study that they're about to initiate, diving further into it. And then we did an EEG analysis looking at the EEG, like the brain activity of people with brain fog versus normal. And we're actually able to develop a classifier that identified brain fog. That's not something that's commercially available, but it's something that is being used by researchers on the back end to understand the classification of the condition. And in our newest device that's come out, the Muse S Athena, um, it has additional sensors in it. So it also has SpO2 and fNIRS. fNIRS is frontal near infrared spectroscopy. So it's kind of red light on your forehead that's able to detect the oxygenation of the blood going to your brain. And what that does is it's able to track the level of activity of the energy level of your brain. So when you're using your brain to think, it demands blood. That blood has oxygen in it, and that's what brings essentially energy to your brain. What we're able to do with Muse is track the oxygen perfusion of your brain and then also give neurofeedback sessions to teach you to enhance and increase the prefrontal oxygen demand. So the brain's demand for energy. It's one of the reasons that we get things like chronic fatigue and brain fog is that the energy regulation systems in our brain, the vasculature that responds with blood flow and oxygen in, you know, whenever your brain is trying to work, sometimes those systems are dysregulated. And so one of the exercises that's offered with the Muse with the fNIRS is prefrontal cortex oxygen neurofeedback, where you actually train your brain to demand more oxygen, to demand more energy. So that has the potential to help improve cognitive fog and symptoms of fatigue. We're still early on with that one, but the potential seems to be there.
That is awesome. And obviously, the next question for people would be that, everybody is busy in their own life and with their work, and they're looking at this device and thinking, well, can I, commit to like, 1 hour, 2 hour, or how many hours in a day? So what have you seen in like, typical minimum, like, let's say a time that a person needs to spend with this device to see an improvement?
So the studies that I have referenced have been using Muse from 5 minutes to 10 minutes a day over a period of 3 months. The Catholic University Milan study was 1 month. That was starting at 10 minutes a day, moving to 20 minutes by the end. The Mayo Clinic studies, they write into the protocol, use the device a minimum of 5 minutes per day. And then often people go longer to 10 or 15 minutes if they like it. But the idea is to just use it regularly, and it doesn't have to be for long periods of time. So, you begin to learn the skill by practicing daily, and then you bring that skill out into your daily life when you don't have the device with you.
That is awesome. Like that is very short amount of time because we recommend meditations for people at least 15 to 20 minutes a minimum to see an effect, because most people will spend like initial 5 to 10 minutes just, battling with their thoughts and not able to do things. And then finally, when they're able to go into that meditative state, which if they are able to, then they spend like, 5 minutes in that. So 15 to 20 minutes. And now you're telling me you can only do to 5 to 10 minutes. That's pretty good. That's a very short amount of time.
So obviously, the longer you do it, the better.
Mhm.
And usually it works best if you start with a lower number. You start with just 5 or 6 minutes and then you work your way up so that you're not, spending half an hour sitting there being bored and frustrated and annoyed. But you build the skill, just like when you go to the gym, you start with a really light weight and then that becomes easy and then you move up, 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 up. But you don't need to go for extended periods of time to learn the skill. Obviously, the more you do, the better,
Mhm.
particularly if you have a lot of time on your hands because you are bedridden or because, life is difficult for you. And so you have time on your hands to just be with yourself. The more the merrier, but it can fit into a busy schedule quite effectively.
And obviously, the next question lots people who have, what is the best time to doing it? Obviously for sleep, it will be before bedtime. But for other things, is the best time doing it in the morning, or it doesn't really matter? Like whatever time of the day you just do it.
Exactly. I get this question a lot and I smile because the best time of the day is the time when you're going to do it. So, whenever it fits into your schedule and your routine. Most people find it most effective to choose a time in the day where they can do it every day. Just like you wake up in the morning, you brush your teeth, or you have lunch at the same time every day. If it becomes part of your regular routine, then it becomes easier to maintain. So if you're not a morning person, don't do it in the morning. If you wake up early in the morning, that's the only time you have and your kids aren't bugging you, that's a perfect time for you. So choose the time that works for you and then stick with it. That's really the key. And one of the best ways to make the habit is put it in your calendar. Block the time off. Don't just say, oh, I'll do it. It's like put it in your calendar, make a reminder on your phone. And when that reminder goes off, don't say, oh, no, I'll do it later. Actually, just stop and do it. Have the willpower to say, nope, this is the time I'm going to do it here. And tell the people in your life that this is what you're doing so that they can help support you. If you have kids, tell your partner or your kids that you're going to be doing it at this time and they're not going to bug you. And that's just what you need. And you can also try to stack it with another habit. So if, say, every day you come home from work or you get off your computer because you're working from home, and then you go and you do something, you might just want to put your meditation session right after you close your computer. Just something that can be the cue for you every day. When I do this, then that. Every day I do this, then that. And that's one of the best ways to get the habit going, because meditation is amazing for you. And using Muse will do really useful things for your mind and body. You'll feel less stressed. It will be better, but it only works if you actually do it. So you have to make the time.
Absolutely. I tell each and every of my client when we are working with them, this is an important step of working on this meditation. Very, very important key. Everybody is wanting to make changes to their diet or taking supplements, but this is the hardest step for them to make this big change of starting this new habit of meditation. And you correctly pointed out great pointers. This is what I tell my patients: start slow, but build it in your calendar, because that's the only way it will happen. And don't do it for only for weekends, but do it every day, because that's the way it is going to be helpful for you. Another question is that, let's say a person wants to do, has this question: should I do multiple sessions of Muse in a day, like 5-10 minutes, each of those, or should I do a one session which is a longer one, let's say 15-20 minutes? Does it really matter, your opinion on which one would be a better option for a person?
Whatever's going to fit into your schedule is really the best thing to do. And both have their benefits. So, a longer session, you could go deeper and have a longer time when your body's in that calm state. But if you're not ready for a long session and it just makes you kind of antsy by 15 minutes, then that wasn't the right choice. Or it was the right choice, but you can make a different choice that might feel better later. Do short sessions. When you do short sessions multiple times throughout the day, it reminds you that this is a skill that you can bring in all the time. So, stress is kind of like this. It ramps, 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 and you need something to bring it down. And then it ramps, and then you bring it down. So ultimately, what you want to be doing is learning the skill of meditation with things like Muse. And, it really teaches you what the state is and how to get there. And then throughout the day, going right and bring myself back down. And then something stressful happens, right, bring myself back down. And Muse has multiple different forms of biofeedback meditation. So it's meditation for the mind, the heart, the breath, and the body. And these train you to recognize when your body is stressed or when your mind is stressed. And then it becomes a key when you have recognized it to say, right, now I'm going to bring in a meditation to calm myself back down. And so it becomes not just, something you do for 5 minutes or 20 minutes, but a real change and shift in your lifestyle that you're able to keep yourself in the calm state throughout the day.
Absolutely. Another quick question in terms of just for asking for sake of people is that, are there any side effects or are there any health conditions for which people should not be using this device?
Sure. So there are not documented side effects. And as far as we understand, it's useful for every health condition. If you have severe trauma, it's always good to work with a healthcare professional, with a psychiatrist to help you manage the trauma and the experiences of it. So, in those cases, meditation is a good adjunct to working with a therapist. And I used to be a psychotherapist myself. So if there is trauma and stressful thoughts, it's always helpful to also work alongside it with a therapist to help work through the emotions and help manage them, and do the meditation every day. That will significantly speed up your healing.
That is awesome. That is great. Literally, that means each and every person can use it. If you're working with a health professional, or even if you're not, because this will improve your meditation, your sleep, your limbic system can definitely have several benefits in terms of your symptoms, like which a lot of Hashimoto's patients do deal with: brain fog, energy issues, sleep problems, stress, anxiety. So it seems like a lot of benefits can come from this device for people. So obviously, like the next question is that where people can find this device and how they can get it.
Sure. So you can find it on choosemuse.com, CHOOSEMUSE.com. And I actually believe that you have, Dr. Gupta, you have a link for a discount for the audience.
That's correct. Yes. So we they have provided us a special discount link for our audience. So that will be in the description. So please click on that link. That will take you directly to the website and use that code. That will give you a 15% off on the Muse devices, which I think is incredible offer that they have been generously given to us. So that way you can give it a try and see all the benefits from it. So,
Excellent.
any other parting information or things that we have not covered that you would like to have people know about?
I should mention that Muse is not a medical device, so it's intended to support people living with a medical condition, but not to diagnose or cure. Um, and that there is options available. I know it can feel like you've tried absolutely everything. And in some weird way, the answer is inside of yourself. And continue to try it, continue to try all of the options. There is a solution that's going to be out there for you. And meditation can help make the journey and the process easier.
That is great. Thank you so much for those parting words. That's what exactly I tell my each and every client. Don't lose hope. If you have tried one thing and if you're not feeling better, there are other things that you have not done till yet. And everybody is different and everybody bodies is different in terms of what is going to work with them. So I think you have given a great tool for people to utilize who are not feeling good or want to feel better to give it a try and see what benefits they can see. So thank you so much again coming over here and sharing all the detailed information about how stress and sleep affects Hashimoto's disease, and amazing device that you have created that can give them all the solutions. So thank you so much again for coming over here.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Gupta. And much love to everyone.
Wonderful. All right, guys, this is it for today. Please, again, give it a go to this device. Link will be in the description. Please check it out and make sure you're using the discount code so that you can get the 15% discount that you want. All right, this is it for today. Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.